Have any of you ladies ever peed off the side of a mountain? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's really not as easy as it seems. The trajectory is kind of all off. This is one of the few, or actually many lessons that my dad taught me growing up. I think my dad wanted boys when when him and my mom decided to have kids, but he ended up with 4 girls. I'm sorry, Dad. He has boy dogs. It's okay. We were not definitely not those kids that grew up not allowing to watch SpongeBob. It was encouraged every Sunday morning before church. We were always outdoors. We were always playing sports. It was really fun. I think we were pretty much raised like little boys. So today, I'm going to let you know a few of the stories that my dad taught me some probably boy lessons through, but that have served me well throughout the rest of my life. So growing up, we had these biannual camping trips that we went on, and they were kind of daddy-daughter camping trips. So our neighbors would go, and the dads would bring their daughters too. And one of them in preschool, we were out skipping rocks, obviously, because you do that when you're camping on the river. And so I was like, okay, if I grab the biggest rock I can, everybody's got these small little rocks, so they're not going very far. So I grab the biggest rock I can, and I go to a cliff kind of above everybody else. And I was like, if I just chunk it as far as I can, it'll go all the way across the river. Not exactly what happened. So I pick up the rock, I chunk it, it goes about 3 feet in front of me, hits one of my dad's best friends in the head. My dad screams at me, and he has to go to the ER, and I'm just standing there like, what? It didn't go across the river. So my dad was not very happy with me at that time. Now, kindergarten rolls around, and I mean, I was a pretty good kid in kindergarten, relatively. And we go to McDonald's one day, and this is like one of my favorite places for breakfast. Oh my gosh, so good. And my dad yells at me, he's like, Gabi, do not go down the dang slide head first. And I was like, yes, sir, of course not. Why would I do that? And so I get to the top of the slide, I'm like, oh my gosh. It looks so fun to go head first. So I go head first, and I go sliding across the floor. The door to get into McDonald's is kind of halfway open because the lady just went right through. And so I hit my head at the door slams shut, a piece of my skin comes off, and I get stitches. And my dad's like, I told you, it's your fault. And this was kind of the moment after kindergarten and after those elementary years that my dad began to kind of go more hands-off with me and be like, okay, you're about to make your own mistakes, and you're going to have to learn from them by yourself, and you have to learn to use your own discretion with these things. So 5th grade rolls around, and we were at like kind of a pond lake type thing, and my dad was fishing on the other side, and my friend and I were on the other side, and my dad goes, don't step in that pile of leaves, you never know what's in it. And I was like, okay, Dad, whatever. And so I step in the pile of leaves, because, you know, it's a nice pile of leaves. A big snake, big, I say big, it was like maybe half a foot, wraps around my leg, bites my leg, and my dad, or I start screaming at my dad, I'm like, oh my God, I just got bit by a snake, I don't know what to do. And my dad's like, no, you didn't, you're fine, just suck it up. So I have my little Razor scooter, he makes me ride that all the way home, which was about a 2-mile walk home, and my leg is swelling up. We get back to the house, my mom's like, call poison control. My dad's like, well, her fault, and he just starts laughing. The reaction becomes a little bit different the older I get. And so obviously I go to the hospital. It was a baby snake, so baby snakes can't control their venom, so I'm in there overnight. I'm being pumped with fluids, and my dad's just laughing, and he's like, this is your fault. I told you not to do this. Now, getting older, again, I get to about my sophomore year of high school, and so sophomore year, do you guys remember swine flu? It was kind of that strain of flu that was really bad going around, and obviously I get it. And so I didn't really know what it was. I knew the symptoms, but I just knew I was feeling terrible, and I had this big track meet on a Friday, and so my dad was like, oh, you have to go to the track meet, suck it up. As always, my dad, suck it up, you gotta go. And so I get to the track meet, I threw up a little bit, ran the race, threw up a little bit more after. I call my dad, Dad, this is awful. And he's like, well, suck it up, you signed up for it, you're ready. And I was like, okay. And so I come home, and I get back, and my dad's like, oh, I signed you up for a tournament. And so I was like, a tournament? I have to play a basketball tournament right now. So he made me play 3 games, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is probably the worst weekend of my life. And he's like, well, suck it up, you know, you committed, and you have to do it. And so I was like, yes, sir. And then he got the swine flu the next week and went his med all week. So that was really nice. So I stuck it to him. And then my junior year rolled around, and that's when I kind of got my license the summer before. I felt adult, independent, and I went out one morning to go get coffee with friends, and it's a green light. You can turn right on a green light. As I'm pulling out, this biker, the one really jacked, kind of head to toe face tats guy, is going across the street on a bike, and I happen to hit him with my car. And there really conveniently is 2 police cars behind me, an ambulance across the road, and a fire station 2 blocks away, and they all come. And so it doesn't get ruled an accident because I didn't really hit him. I just gave him a little love tap. And it ended up being fine, but I couldn't call my dad during the whole time because I'm hysteric, and I have to kind of talk to the police, and I have to figure it out on my own. So I call him after. I'm like, Dad, I just hit a pedestrian. And he just laughs at me. He's like, Gabi, this is why you have to practice better with driving. You have to be more aware. And I was like, yes, sir, you're right. He was like, are you going to be late to your first class? I was like, no, Dad, no, I'll be fine. Like, I'll be on time. So I roll into my first class crying, obviously. But basically the moral of all of these kind of tough love stories is that my dad was definitely the strictest person on me growing up. And sometimes it was really rough growing up with that because I was frustrated. I was like, Dad, why are you being so hard on me? But it was because he loved me, and it was because he wanted me to learn how to use my own discretion and learn how to kind of live life getting through these things on my own. And so he kind of repeated this phrase to me every time I would mess up. He would always say, Gabi, I always learned through experience, but some of the best experiences came from my dumbest mistakes. Thank you.